And good morning. It's a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. I'm Glenn. He's Griffin. And if it's Friday, that means Press Box's Chief Graham Poobah, Stan the Fan Charles, back in studio with us. Good morning, sir.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys.
Hope everybody's being safe today. It is an unpleasant day, obviously, in certain parts of the state. It is really problematic. Be safe. Be smart. Thoughts to everybody down in Annapolis. I know it's not looking good down there. You always think about that. Like today, up here, we're just like, it's windy, it's storming. Then you see pictures, you're like, wow, that entire street's underwater. That's crazy. That's crazy. So please, don't. No need to be a hero today. Coming up on the program, we'll obviously be talking some baseball. Cameron Mabin is going to join the show. Of course, former big league outfielder. He's now part of the Foul Territory crew. He was very, very high on the Orioles' acquisition of Eloy Jimenez, who's, for the most part, worked out. Didn't like him chasing the fastball up high, but it was a heck of a pitch in that spot last night. I can't really fault a lot, and there were other problems, and it's a whole thing, but we'll talk to Cameron Mabin about that. We got a lot to talk about. We'll get.
That's
there.
one way to put it.
There's a lot going on there. Remember when they used to be good at defense? Remember when the Orioles were good? The number of guests that have come on recently, like, hey, don't forget the Orioles are a good defensive team, and I was like, you haven't been watching, have you?
No.
You haven't. I get it, because that was what they were, but something's happened there. They're not a good defensive team. Anyway, we'll talk to Cameron Mabin. Also, later on in the program, our friend Ben Verlander will join us as well. Talk about the Orioles.
Swinging bats, right?
Is that what it's called?
Flippin' bats.
Flippin'
Flippin'
bats.
bats.
Flippin'
That's
bats.
his show, yes, 100%.
Basically.
Fox
It would have been
Sports.
better as swinging bats. Yeah.
Fox also has the Orioles game tomorrow night against the Rays. So that's what's coming up on the program today. Yeah, what a weird night last night where you get back into it after you're really doing nothing against Kevin Gausman, then it gets away from you, and everybody sort of gives up on it, and all of a sudden, whoa, what the hell's going on here? What's happening? Yeah. And you come up just a bit short, despite the fact that probably the guy you would want up at the plate at this point at the end of the game was the guy that you had. The biggest problems from last night, I don't think Dean Kramer was good. He wasn't. But he wasn't helped by his defense either. And it starts with, I get that's not an easy play for Jackson Holliday to make at the beginning of the game, but it's still a play that I would expect a good Major League second baseman, even a quality, whatever word you want to use, Major League second baseman to make. And it's just been kind of constant. And it's one thing when it's Kobe Mayo and we all say, well, we don't think he's ultimately going to be a Major League third baseman, and we don't. But Jackson Holliday's going to have to be a Major League second baseman. Like, there's not another spot that they're going to be freeing up for Jackson Holliday to play. That's his spot as long as he's
Why
here.
not?
Why not?
Yeah. Why would Jackson Holliday be stuck at second base?
You think that they move Gunnar back to third?
I think there's a possibility. It's a conversation. I know he wouldn't be happy with that.
That's the part that I think would become problematic about it, is that there's been a lot of vocalness about Gunnar's a shortstop. That's the way it's going to go. Do you think that would be made based on how poorly Jackson Holiday's played?
I'll be honest with you. I've never seen Jackson Holliday play. No, it's how poor that Gunnar Henderson has
been at
shortstop. Yeah, over the last 2 months. Yeah.
Boy, I think you end up causing.
It's also it's a projection issue. You know, I know he's a better pure athlete than Cal was.
Right.
I don't know that he's a better pure baseball player and has the same sense. I don't think he's taking over the whole defense and calling pitches for pitchers and things like that. I don't think he has the feel for that Cal did. I mean, Cal was a real savant, you know. And if it makes people feel better, I think Gunnar's the much better hitter than Cal Ripken.
Well, I think he can be 100%. Yeah. It's an interesting. It is an interesting thought. The other layer to it that's problematic.
What have you heard about Jackson? Because I had somebody last night texting me and say, well, you can't play him ever at shortstop if he's playing second base this way. And I just remember the conversation I had with Omar Minaya, who was no longer the Mets GM. He had gone to another team, but he was back with the Mets a couple of years ago. And I asked him, he said, I scouted Holliday extensively because we thought we had a shot going into that year. We were number 9. And then he said 3 weeks into the season, I knew we weren't getting him. But I said, so you've seen him play a lot? He goes, yeah, I've seen him play a lot. I said, could he, if Gunner's as good as we think he's going to be, this is back in 2022. I said, could Jackson Holliday play center field? He said he could play anywhere on the field.
So there are people that hold that opinion, but I feel like the folks that watched him the most in the minors shied away from that and said that's not real. Like, could he be he absolutely could be a shortstop, 100%.
No, that's the position. I'm not talking about him playing center field for the Orioles.
Is he definitively better defensively than Gunnar Henderson at short? I did not get that sense from the folks that were watching him every day.
I don't know, but because I don't go over fielding analytics and all that, but to me, the best infield I think the Orioles could put out there defensively moving forward, not just like spur of the moment right now. It's not going to happen this year. Would be Gunner at third, Holliday at short, and Westberg at second base.
And then you add the problem. So the analytics would tell you Westberg has been an awful defensive second baseman.
Okay.
And that's the
analytics can say it. I see him as a real terrific second baseman.
I wouldn't go that far with what I've seen. Yeah. I was surprised by how poor the analytics had him. I didn't think he was terrific, but I thought he was fine.
Keep in mind, it's a very difficult thing. It seems like it's easy to flip back and forth between the two positions. If he knew second base was his position, I think he'd be terrific there.
I think it's possible. I like his instincts as a player.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I did not think, when we looked it up, I was alarmed by how poor the numbers were at second base. It jumped off the page at me like, what is going on? To the point where I had to again run it up and say, hey, to the folks that I talked to about this, hey, is what Baseball Savant is saying what you guys are seeing? And the answer was, yeah, it's been rough. Bad beats the ball, and I was surprised by that because again, we didn't see.
I know we've talked about it before, and I was surprised that the analytics show that.
Right.
I've talked to Jim Palmer about it, and he thinks he's a tremendous second baseman.
So
reminiscent of Bobby Grich.
I guess what I would say is maybe. Maybe.
Yeah.
I can't tell you that it's wrong. I would say right now, I think the Gunner thing is the biggest impediment to that because there has been a lot vocalized about I'm a shortstop, and I don't know what the Orioles ultimately do. I don't know if the Orioles are already a place where, well, we're never going to sign you anyway, so we kind of don't care if we piss you off.
Right.
Like, if you get pissed off, you get pissed off, be pissed off, right?
Right.
If there's still a hope that they might sign him, and if there is, then it feels like they're going to try to continue to work with Scott Boras. And by the way, all they're doing is continuing to add more Scott Boras guys into the team and into the system. So I would be surprised that they would want to be in an antagonistic sort of relationship